Hi everyone, this is Ben Falcon's Media Corner back again with a brand new AK After a Soul review episode for today, which this one's going to be on a movie from 2021, which this one I wanted to review this film for quite a bit on my channel, and so I thought, hey, today's the day. I'm here to review this film, and so I can just get this review done and move on to other stuff and focus on upcoming releases. And I thought I wear these sunglasses for this review since this one's a sci-fi film. So today's review I'm here to talk to you guys about is the 2021 sci-fi action fantasy film, and this is the fourth entry to this franchise, and that is The Matrix Resurrections. So this is the fourth entry to the Matrix franchise, and this was directed by Lana Wachowski and was also written by her along with two other screenwriters. And so for this new entry to the Matrix franchise, we follow Neo, once again played by Keanu Reeves, who's now sort of living an ordinary life as a video game developer, and he's struggling to distinguish fantasy from reality, because from the video games he's making is basically based on his life in the Matrix. So what happens is a group of rebels, including a program version of Morpheus, who's played by Yahya Abdul-Manteen II. It's hard to pronounce his name, but he's the actor from Aquaman and last year's Candyman. Basically, they free Neo from this new world of the Matrix, and they ask for his help to basically help them to basically save Trinity, who's held captive, and Trinity's once again played by Carrie-Ann. And they, of course, have to basically see Neo and Morpheus and the group of rebels face off a new enemy, which is actually a younger version of Agent Smith, played by Jonathan Groff. So we see Neo and Morpheus and the group of rebels. They have to stop, a newer program version of Agent Smith, and they have to save Trinity from who's held captive. So that's pretty much the story of The Matrix Resurrections. Now, from my experiences with the previous three movies, obviously I do love the first Matrix movie a lot. It's definitely one of my favorite sci-fi movies, and of course, in my opinion, my favorite Keanu Reeves movie. And I started seeing him in other things outside of The Matrix, like the Bill and Ted movies and the John Wick franchise, and I think he has become an awesome actor, and I was really happy to hear that he was coming back to do this movie, to portray his famous character since 1999. And I was also glad to see that Carrie-Ann was coming back to play her character again, as well as for Lana Wachowski to return in the director's chair, since if anyone else would have took over to direct this new entry, I would probably have worse fears in my life. But for the other two entries to the franchise of the Matrix movies, Reloaded, most people have mixed opinions on the second one. I do think that one was decent, but it's not great. But there are some enjoyment I did have in the second one, and Revolutions, I think, is just the weakest of the franchise. It's not awful or anything, but I just think what they're trying to go for that one just didn't really work well for that one. But when I heard we were getting a new entry to this franchise, the fourth film, I was pretty curious and thinking what this one was going to be like. And I was really surprised with the new additional cast for this one. You've got Jonathan Groff from Frozen, as well as Frozen 2, who plays a program version of Agent Smith in this movie. You've got Neil Patrick Harris from How I Met Your Mother, and Yahya Abdul-Manteen II from Aquaman and Candyman from last year, which he plays a program version of Morpheus. And so I was originally going to go and see this on Christmas Eve last year, but I got a call in from work because they needed it for my help for Christmas time. So I went to see this on the 23rd of December, and not really for much of a packed screening, because I guess there were a lot of people who were seeing Spider-Man No Way Home and all that. So I went to see this on the 23rd of December, and after walking out of it, this one was decent. Well, I wouldn't say this is the absolute worst entry to the franchise since Revolutions. I think Revolution still is my least favorite in the franchise. I think I just say that's a weak film. What they try to go for that one just didn't really work that well. But I wouldn't say this movie's pure trash or really bad. I think it's just a decent watch, because critics and some critics and audiences are kind of divisive with this film. I'd say this is a pretty divisive film from last year, really. But Keanu Reeves is still awesome in the movie as Neo since 1999, and Carrie-Ann is still great as Trinity since 1999. And for the new cast in this film, you've got Jonathan Groff as the program version of Smith, I thought he gave a pretty solid performance, but I wouldn't say he's better than Hugo Weaving did in the three films, because Hugo Weaving is great in those movies, in those three films, but Jonathan Groff gave a solid acting and performance for his character in the film. And Yahya Abdul-Manteen II as the program version of Morpheus, I thought he gave a pretty good performance, but I wouldn't say he is better than Lawrence Fishburne did in those three films as well. But he was pretty good for some action sequences in this film. And Neil Patrick Harris was surprisingly not bad in this film, actually. I thought he was solid enough for his acting in the movie. And Jessica Henwick, who plays Bugs in the film, I thought she was pretty cool, and I kind of liked the character quite a bit in this movie. All the acting all around were pretty solid enough for the most part. But the action and visual effects wise, I enjoyed them, and for the most part they were pretty good, and they were pretty cool as well. But I wouldn't say they're as incredibly memorable like the first movie did, because for that movie it's of course memorable for both the action and the visual effects in this film. But it's mostly the storytelling in this film. I kind of found that to be a bit of an issue. It's really self-aware on the nostalgia and fan base, really, which this movie's mostly focused on that for the fans of this, for those who are fans of this franchise. There is some nostalgia to this. There are nostalgia to this movie, which I didn't mind for a few parts, but when it gets to more of that, I kind of think this movie's just mostly focused on that instead of what was going on. And there is like an exposition of the villain's scheme of what he wants to do in the film, which that was an issue. And well, the main issue for the storytelling is it's just mainly trying to reimagine the first movie all over again, but with nostalgia and fan base. And there is a romantic plot line in this film, which I didn't really expect in this film. I didn't see any of that in the trailers. I ended up seeing it when the movie was already out, and again, I didn't really expect that. I just kind of wish the storytelling would have been much improved and could have been a little bit better. That was a bit of an issue, really, as well as some other issues I did have with this movie. But in the end, though, The Matrix Resurrections, I wouldn't say this is completely trash or really bad. It's just a decent watch. I kind of think this is a bit better than Revolutions, but it's nowhere near as good as the first movie. But if you're a fan of this franchise, or if you're a fan of the cast or the director, this definitely could be a popcorn treat for any of those who are a fan of anything that I've just mentioned. If you've missed your chance to see this in cinemas, it will be soon, coming on physical media pretty soon, as well as on any streaming services, streaming app of your choice as well. So that's pretty much all I have to say about The Matrix Resurrections overall. I'm going to give The Matrix Resurrections 3 out of 5. Like I said, I wish this one could have been a little bit better, but I wouldn't say this is a massive disappointing film for me, because I've seen some other disappointing films from me, other films last year that I kind of found disappointing for myself. But I can say this one, I thought this one was a little bit better than the last one, but it's just nowhere near as good as the first movie. So, yeah, I just wish it could have been a little bit better, though. That's all I could say. But thank you guys so much for watching for my AK After a Soul review on The Matrix Resurrections. And let me know what you think of this movie. If you've seen this already, did you have a blast with it, or were you massively disappointed with this film? So thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more reviews. And as always, this is Ben Foggins Media Corners signing off.